I have to admit, it is kind of a silly episode this week. I drink some coffee downtown, and then I try and laugh at a few comedy specials. Alright, well, I'm downtown here in Calgary, and I thought I would like to talk to you a little bit about this place called Monogram Coffee. It's interesting, the coffee culture here in the city, because honestly it's a bit incestuous on how everyone is kind of related to each other. And I know all this without ever drinking a sip of coffee in my life, or at least not intentionally. I'm not a coffee fan. I don't like the smell, don't like the taste of it, but I love tea and teas in general. For my money, Monogram Coffee makes the best chai tea latte in the entire city. I can't get enough of them. And I can't have a lot of them, or else it would just be like a huge big pot belly that I have going forward. That being said, there's two locations. The one that's here downtown, and there's another one kind of all the way over on the west side in this community called Altador. And in both spots, they are kind of those traditional artisanal coffees. They take the time to make sure it's brewed properly. This is not your chain restaurant like a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons. They're going to take the time and make sure something is created the best possible way. You've probably seen some of the shots already that I've interspersed in here, but they have this flourish, and their baking is also top notch. I had the almond croissant, which I highly recommend. For me, a coffee shop is at its best when it has the right feeling when you walk into it. If you can sit down there and have a conversation and be energized by just the people that are in the room, even if you're not talking to them, that is a good coffee shop. You want to have those people swirling around you so that you kind of feed off of their ideas, that you feed off of their energies, and Monogram has always had that. For my money here at least. So if you're ever in Calgary, or if you are in Calgary already and you're looking for a new spot to come out to, I'm going to recommend coming down here to Monogram Coffee. And there's Mark, who's taking pictures of me. So I've mentioned this in other places, but Netflix seems dedicated to ruining my social life, because every single week they're uploading either a new series that I want to catch up on, a continuation of a series I'm already binged, or a comedy special. And as a fan of comedy specials from years and years back, I have very fond memories actually of my family. We would get together and watch comedy specials on Friday and Saturday nights. Growing up in Canada, on the CTV, there was there's Just for Laughs on the CBC, but on CTV they also had like the new comic showcase that would happen on, I forget what now it was called, doesn't really matter, but it was a great experience to be able to see like comedians trying stuff out for the first time. And of course, my parents also introduced me to people like George Carlin and Bill Cosby before he was a rapist. Actually, he was still. I'm off the point. What I'm trying to say is that I was very indentured into comedy, you wouldn't be able to tell it from this channel, at a very early age. And so I like to try and keep up with comedy specials as much as I can. Sarah Silverman, as you see behind me, I'm a fan of hers. Her new comedy special just came out on Netflix, and I will say that it was fine. There was a few jokes that I really, really loved, and I think that Sarah's ability to play with the form of stand-up comedy is her biggest strength. This is not necessarily a straight up like set up, punchline type of comedy. It's more of a weird, like somewhat of a story, but kind of doubling back on itself, like a snake eating its own tail sort of thing. So I liked it. It was fine, but I don't think it raises to the level of like her other special that I'm going to totally blank on the name of, that came out a few years ago. But if you look at her older comedy specials, I think those are better than this one. And I think it's maybe because I think a lot of comedians are struggling to figure out how to talk about Donald Trump in this new world and try and still make it funny. And I don't know if anyone's necessarily cracked that nut as of yet. Sarah tries. Sometimes successfully, sometimes I don't think very successfully at all. It almost comes off as complaining more than it is a good joke or storytelling device. But the stuff that she talks about herself when she goes inward, that stuff is killer. And it's really, really strong. I just wish that it was able to be fleshed out to be more satisfying stand-up special. But that's Sarah Silverman. Speck of Dust is what the new comedy special is called. And then there's Hasan Minhaj. So as a dyed-in-the-wool Daily Show fan from the moment that Jon Stewart came onto the scene. I remember watching his first couple of years when I was in university. I loved seeing this kind of new form of satire, of being able to poke fun at the government, and really delving into news stories seriously. It wasn't just making jokes about the news. It was really, we want to report to you the news and also make fun of it at the same time, to make you be a little bit more informed, but also bring that sardonic humor at the same time. So I'm a big fan of Jon Stewart and what he was able to do on Comedy Central for 17 years. Hasan Minhaj was a later entry into that show, I think maybe the last couple of seasons, but he was a strong correspondent. Now this, what is going on, is not a standard comedy special once again, just like Sarah Silverman. This is much more of a one-man show where we're playing with lighting and camera movements and really telling his story from growing up in America, being born here, to immigrant parents, all the way up to his audition process at The Daily Show, with his love life, with being married. It's just this really interesting character arc that goes on. He's not afraid to get serious in certain moments, to use very harsh language in certain moments, but that is what made me over the moon in love with this comedy special. I think it is so great. I think what it is that, much like the best parts of the Sarah Silverman one, he stays the entire time inward, talking about himself, talking about his own experience, and able to make fun of that, making fun of himself, but also making fun of the situation that he finds himself in. I think one of the biggest parts that I really aligned with him on was the 9/11 attacks that happened, and having to deal with his parents and what was happening to them, being Muslim, the way that they looked, and being able to deal with this country that they loved with these people that didn't seem to want to even engage with him on a human level. I think, again, this is not joke. This is really storytelling, but storytelling done so incredibly well. You get to understand his thought process, why he finds the things that he finds funny. He's able to make these engaging points and just really hit you hard in the stomach when he needs to. I think it brings the best parts of The Daily Show in kind of a comedy special format. I'm a big fan. Honestly, this comedy special, Homecoming King, is one of the best comedy specials I've seen in the last few years. I would honestly run, don't walk, and watch this on Netflix right now because I think it's that good.